What's up, guys? So, as promised, wanted to dive into the new split with you. This one's not very different from what we were doing previously. We were training everything twice every 8 days. So, on this one, everything's getting touched on once a week, except for quads. Quads is getting touched once a week just because it's a strong part and it's a huge demand on recovery. So, when looking at this split, the main thing that I wanted to accomplish with this was add a day in that was mainly aimed at the goals this offseason. And that is, bring up the density and bring up the amount of meat on my backside. So we added in a back and hamstring day. So, and you'll see in parentheses with the hinge. So that day, and I'm just going to run down the days and then we'll talk about the week as a whole after that. So on Monday, and the nice thing about this split, I will say this, is it's been a while since I've trained on like a 7-day split. So like everything's on the same day of every week. And I really like that. I get, into a groove with that. And then important for me is I'm able to line it up to where, when I start traveling for guest posings and stuff, I'll take a extra design day off and scoot the off day. Actually, no, it's right now. So Sunday's off when I'm traveling home. Or if, I wanted to do it where I could scoot the Wednesday off day up to Friday because I'm always flying on Fridays. So just having the same training session on the same day of every week really works well for a lot of people, myself included. But let's get back into each individual day, then we'll talk about the week as a whole. So Monday is going to be back and hams with the hinge. So for the back work that day, it's going to be a lot of bilateral movements. We have the only unilateral movement I do that day is going to be the setup that you've seen me do, either a Nautilus pull down or a a high cable pull down, the unilateral ones. In the past, I've listed exactly, which exercises to do. I'm going to say more conceptually, what you should be thinking about doing with this because not everyone has the same equipment. So for the back portion of Monday's training session, the order of exercises should be a vertical pull aimed at targeting your lower lat, a horizontal row aimed at targeting your lower lat, and then a vertical pull aimed at targeting your upper back, and then another row aimed at targeting your upper back. So doing two movements, really, trying to target, the lower lat musculature, and then two movements really trying to target the upper back musculature. So after doing that, moving on to hamstrings, I have it to where I'm doing the lying on today because I'm also loading my spine. I do the seated on the the leg day, just to minimize the spinal loading on that day because we have back the following day. So lying hamstring curl is going to be the hamstring movement, and then with a hinge. So I currently have barbell RDLs in. I've seen, a great success with, dumbbell RDLs, belt squat on the pit shark RDLs, individual, unilateral RDLs. Whatever you feel the best or whatever you want to program in there, it's just, this day we are going to have a hinging exercise. And like I said, right now, barbell RDL is what I have in for my hinge. Tuesday is going to be push. I should write push with triceps, but it's going to be, we're going to start with a cable press. So, and I'll go over this cable press when we film the actual workout. It's become one of my favorite exercises just from the standpoint that I'm able to set it up in a way that there is no, torque or, unwanted tension pulling me any other way, and I'm able to get a really good contraction with them. So I've really enjoyed starting with those. And then on this push day, it's going to be the day that I do 3 presses for chest. We're going to go from those cable presses into an incline dumbbell and then finish up with a Nautilus flat. So incline dumbbell, everyone's able to do an incline dumbbell. And then for that flat exercise, just a flat machine exercise that fits you well. We're able to focus on output and not stabilization. I haven't dumbbell pressed until I started this new split, probably in like 2 years. And I've really enjoyed it just from the novelty it's added to the sessions, but also, it's another degree of overhead pressing with free weight. So the amount of stabilization it requires is good for my shoulder because, as you all know, I have a wonky shoulder. Wednesday right now is the off day. On the off days, coming in and we are, doing some, bodybuilding, yoga, rolling around, lacrosse balling, dynamic recovery, whatever you want to call it. And then we're doing abs and then we're posing. So It's another big thing that I'm keeping intact for this off season is I'm not letting it gonna be, 3-4 months go by before guest posings roll around. Then it's, oh shit, I need to start posing again. Keeping posing in and keeping the craft practiced. Moving on from Wednesday, Thursday is going to be the new leg day. Thursday, when I say legs, we are training the whole leg, so that's going to be the second time that you're touching hamstrings in this split. As I said at the beginning of the video, quads are a strong part for me, and then for most people, it's hard to recover from more than one quad session a week if you're doing it right. So what that day looks like is we always start with hamstrings. I'm a big proponent of starting with hamstrings. So like I said, that day we're doing the seated hamstring curl. And from there we're going into a leg extension and actually working on the leg extension, doing 1 set to failure. And then from there, I want you to, and I'll tell you what I'm doing, but from there we're moving on to a bilateral compound and then a unilateral compound. So it could be a hack squat, it could be a safety squat, it could be a pendulum squat, it could be a leg press, just a bilateral compound exercise, that has a good quad emphasis, that fits you right, that you connect well with, that your gym has, whatever you want to say. And then for the second compound exercise of the day, we want to pick a unilateral quad exercise. So for the bilateral one, I'm doing leg press in my rotation right now. And then, like I said, after the bilateral, we're going to go to unilateral, and that is going to be, for me, a Rogers hip press, done single leg. Another great option if you're not leg pressing, if you're doing something else besides leg press for your first compound, single leg press. Another great one is a split squat. So there's several options that you can put in for that unilateral compound. After that second compound for quads, going to move on to training adductors. I'm a big proponent of training adductors the same way you train any other muscle, and that is, 2 or 3 sets to absolute failure in that 8 to 15 rep range. So yes, whenever I do the video for that workout, you will see me grunting it out on the adductor machine. I'd like to say that's why my legs touch all the way down to my knees, though. Everyone's so focused with improving their quad sweep to make their legs look bigger, but they ignore the fact that they have like a gap all the way up to their nutsack in their front shots. So keep that in mind. It'll make your legs look a lot bigger in your front shots, and then develop adductors, push your hamstrings out in your side shots, fan them out. And then, in your back shots, anytime you can see your adductors just hanging, it's a freaky look. So moral of the story, train your adductors hard like every other muscle. So like I said, we're going adductors, and then after adductors, going to calves. At this point in my career, calves have become a strong body part for me, and I don't do both standing and seated every session. I do alternate standing and seated. If they aren't a strong body part for you, or if you're wanting to make them grow still, I would recommend, doing standing and seated every session. 2 sets to failure. The first set being, a hard single straight set, 10 to 15 reps, really hitting failure. The second set being a triple drop. You always hear like, oh, high reps for calves or low reps heavyweight, and I've had really good experience with doing, both per se. That really hard, heavy straight set, and then, touching another set where you're getting those hard, 8 to 10 reps in with the heavyweight, but then backing off and really finishing it off. So after calves, that's a wrap on legs. So that's Thursday. After Thursday, moving on to Friday. Friday is going to be the second back session of the week. Friday's back session is going to be aimed a lot more at unilateral exercises. So unilateral rowing, unilateral pull downs. Same session structure as the previous one, though. So we're going to be doing a vertical, lower lat focused pull down, followed by a unilateral lower lat focused, horizontal pull, and then another upper back pull down, and then another upper back row. On this day, after those 4 back movements, we're moving on to rear delts. So we're training rear delts once a week right now on the Friday's pull day. And then after rear delts, moving on to biceps. Right now I have 2 movements in for biceps with 2 working sets apiece. So 4 sets of biceps a week, and then triceps is the same deal. It's just 4 working sets a week right now as well. Really and truly, I really feel like that's all you need to make your arms grow. If arms are a priority, I might say that the previous split that I was training on might be a better split for you because there is a dedicated arm day and the increased frequency. You're training them twice every 8 days, so check that one out if arms are a weak point. But yeah, so Friday's back day, moving on from Friday's back day over to Saturday's push day. This is the day that we're going to be doing a flying motion with 2 presses instead of just 3 presses for chest. So we'll start on a pec deck fly. I know the jury's out there as to whether or not it's an optimal exercise. I try to be pretty optimal, but I love pec deck. I feel it. I have a good one. I have a prime one. So pec deck, prime into the prime incline, and then finished up with the Nautilus flat. I'm doing the Nautilus flat on both the A and the B push day right now. It's an exercise I connect well with. It's an exercise that feels good on my shoulder, and I'm trying to bring my chest up, obviously. So after Saturday, moving on to Sunday, off day. That off day looks exactly the same as the other one, and then you rinse, repeat, and do it again. As far as, training this on this split, total training volume, every single one of these days, I am somewhere between 6 and 8 working sets for the body part. So, keep that in mind when you're picking your exercises. And when I say 6 to 8, I mean like 6 to 8 for back and then like 6 to 8 for hamstrings, not 6 to 8 total. So keep that in mind when you're doing your exercise selection. I am going to be shooting every single one of these workouts at least once so you can see my exercise selection and how I'm doing the sets and the form and the tempo with which I'm performing them. The actual important things, It's all fine and dandy to write this down on paper for y'all, and I do want y'all to be able to follow along. That's why I'm giving you all the nuts and bolts of it, but it's how you execute that makes all the difference in the world. So, really been liking training on this split. Been doing it for, I guess, I'm starting the 3rd cycle of it today, so the 3rd week of it today. I'm still getting like my noob gains and my logbook, really progressing every exercise a lot, every session right now. I foresee that slowing down in the near future, but touching on something, before I went to this split, I trained on that previous split for over a year, and I think there's a fine balance between running something into the ground and giving it a chance to see if it truly works, and then just doing something past its expiration date. After last year, I feel like we added some good size, but, my physique didn't present the way that we wanted it to on stage, and there were still some glaring holes in it. So, after running it for a year, we, rinsed it off and, put in what we needed to put in, took out what we think we needed to take out, and, back to the drawing board that is the off season. So, looking forward to running this one into the dirt. I think it's going to bring some really impressive, improvements on stage. Regularly pulling will always make a difference in my physique, so looking forward to getting back to doing that. And anyways, like I said, I'll be keeping y'all posted on actually filming all of these training sessions, but for now I just wanted to give you an overview of the new split that I'm training on. So, as always, if you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe so you can get a notification when we drop the next video. And as always, really appreciate y'all following along. I'll see y'all next time.